I wonder if you would have noticed me.
Okay. Let's see over here. We're holding 3 lines from the top on page Ayin 70. 78. We thank Hashem that you're able to learn Torah every day. And we're supposed to be learning the Shabbat English immediately. Learning Lili Nishma Sabah Gold Basra Daf and Nisan Al Ben Betzian. And also our first time of Avin David Ben Sarah. Gedalia gets Eliezer Ben Fagan Sipar. I'm back in yeshiva. Sorry. We mentioned before
the Eli of the Tayan. We know. You should know, in Beis Menachem, there's a minhag that if Isaac Gorin, this is Gorin wears the tie, we don't say Tachman.
Okay.
In those days, he wears he also does a bris, but that's our minhag.
Tie is Rosh Hashanah. Take it easy. Okay, so we mentioned the Dayani Goyla, Dayanim of Bavel, which is the Gemara Sanhedrin tells us the Shmuel and Karna. And then there's the Dayani Eretz Yisrael, which we're going to talk about today. That's Rav and Ravasi and Ravasi, I think. So, on page 70, the Gemara starts like this: Boimene Ravacha Bar Huna Mirav Sheshis. Question from Ravacha Bar Huna to Rav Sheshis. We said that if someone sells a field, he doesn't automatically sell a very significant tree together with the field. An example of a significant tree was either a grafted carob tree or an older sycamore tree, charuv hamorkav or a sadana shikma. On the other hand, carob tree that wasn't grafted or a young sycamore tree that was sold. It's not significant, it's bottled to the land, and you sold the land, you sold the whole thing. Let's say someone says, when he sells the field, he says, chutz mi charuv pliny, chutz mi sadan pliny. He specifies that he's not selling one of the trees that wasn't sold. And the question is, when he's saying not that tree wasn't sold anyway. But he has other trees that also aren't sold. And when he specifies one tree that's amongst those trees that's not sold, what does he mean? Ma, what's the din? Do we say that specifically that one tree that he specified is the one that's not sold, that's not acquired by the purchaser? But maybe what he means to emphasize is that there's only one that's not being sold, but all the others are being sold. Or do we say do we say that all the trees aren't sold? You never sold it. When you sell a field, you don't sell those trees. So why do you say except for that one? Rashban gives 2 possible explanations for that. One is, we said that when you want to add in, say extra words, what you're doing is you're just getting pathway to that tree. Remember we said we had some things, if someone adds in words to the document, what he means to say is that he wants to own the ability to walk on the property to get to his tree. It says chutz micharuf pliny, that tree wasn't sold anyway. What he means to say is he wants the path to that tree. That's what he wants. Other possibility is it's just a shufra d'shtara. It's just like we said yesterday that you should write certain things in the document even though it's not necessary, just because it makes the document more clear, more beautiful. Shufra means beautiful. The Shapiros like that word. Shufra. Shufra is Aramaic for beautiful. Shapiro, the name Shapiro comes from the city Speyer, the German city. It's not the Aramaic word beautiful, but nevertheless. So do we say maybe it's just beautifying the document, add in those extra words? Okay. It's the Gemara's question. Rav Acha Bar Huna's question of Rav Sheshas, if someone adds in this detail, which is not necessary, does he mean to imply that all the other trees are sold? Amalei, Rav Sheshas responds, Leikana. Now, that means he doesn't acquire any of the trees. It's not implying that this tree he's not acquiring, but the others, yes? No. Leikana doesn't acquire it. Esvei, they asked him a question. It must be Rav Acha Bar Huna asking Rav Sheshas. When it says Esvei, there's always a clear individual asking and a clear individual that's being asked, as opposed to Mesvei or Masiv. Esvei is directly being asked one to the other. Chutz mecher of Plaine, the Brisa says like this, that if someone sells a field and he says, except for that carob tree, which we're talking about, the carob tree that's grafted, that's a significant tree that wouldn't have been sold anyway, Chutz misad and Plaine, except for the older sycamore tree, Leikana. He doesn't acquire. My love, the Gemara thinks that what's the explanation of this Brisa? That he doesn't acquire that specific tree that he specified. And that would imply Hashachar Kana. But he does acquire all the others. The fact that you added that in when you didn't need to, that's telling me that you just don't acquire that one tree that you specified, but all the others you do acquire. It's a kasha on what Rav Sheshas answered. Amalei, so he says, like, that's not what the Brisa means. Afilu Shachar of Nami Laikana. What it means, all you said was Laikana, that he doesn't acquire. You didn't say what. You assumed that what it meant was just that tree. He says, no, it means all the trees you don't acquire. Teda, I'll prove it to you. The ilu amarle sadim mechurlach. This is a great logic. It's a real good lawyer's argument. Ilu amarle sadim mechurlach chutz misad plainis. Ahiyud leikane hachrisikani. Let's say someone would say like this: I'm selling you this field, not that field. Does that mean that he sold him two fields? Because he said not that field? Just because you said not that field doesn't mean that you sold him two fields. So if you say, I'm not selling you that sadan, that sycamore tree, doesn't mean that you sold him another one. You only sold him one. You only sold him in the field. So here, if I would sell you one field and I say, I'm selling you this field, not that field, does that mean that that there was a third field that I sold you? That wasn't. That's his logic.
That's a separate property. This is within the.
Yeah. So the way the Gemara is learning it, yeah. What's your first name again?
Mendel.
Mendel's saying, but that is a separate property. But this is part of the same field. What the Gemara is doing is it's saying that this is so not part of this field that it's considered separate. That's the logic that it's using. It's pushing it out of the field. When someone sells the field, he doesn't sell the sadan, the sycamore tree.
So we bought it for much more than.
So then we said that when it comes to the sale price by property, it doesn't tell us anything. Because every person can pay whatever for property. Yeah. Ella, what does it mean? Laikana, hachinami laikana. Rather over there, just like by the field, you don't acquire another field because he said, I'm not acquiring that field. That doesn't mean that you acquire this other field. So too, over here also, just because he said that I'm not selling that sycamore tree, doesn't mean that you're selling the others. Okay. That's the first version of this Gemara. Now we have the second version of this Gemara, which is almost the same, but there's one slight difference. Ikeda Amri, that those that say that the Gemara's question, Rav Acha Bar Huna's question to Rav Sheshas was one detail off, one iota off. Rav Acha Bar Huna me Rav Sheshas. The question went like this: Chutz me chatzi charuv pleni, chutz me chatzi sadan pleni, mahu. So the Rashbam spells out that according to this version, there's no question. Rav Acha Bar Huna never had a question about if he says, except for this sycamore tree, if he sold all the other trees. Of course, he didn't sell the others. That's of course. He didn't sell any. That's going to be, there was no question. In other words, the second version of the Gemara has the first version already answered up, that it's not sold. What is the real question? Let's get more complex. Why is this a question? So he says like this. The guy that's selling the field, he says, I'm selling you the field except for half of the sycamore tree. It sounds like there's a half of the sycamore tree that he is selling. Mamish like divided a tree in half. There's got to be something going on here, right? So it must be. See, if he says except for that sycamore tree, then okay, he's not selling any of the sycamore trees. He's not selling that one either. But now that he's dividing it in half, there must be something's happening. Yeah. Either half of the carob tree or half of the sycamore tree. Ma, what's it then? There's no question that when you sell a field, you don't sell the trees, these special trees with them. So they're not sold. But what you left from this tree, you have a pencil? Kani. But what's left over from this tree, then for sure because you specified it in such a way. You specified it in such a way, so it looks clearly like you're selling half the tree and half the tree you're not. Or maybe do we say, but even what you left in that tree, you're not going to. Why do you say it like that? Strange, but yeah. Okay.
I was thinking the trees on the property line.
Oh. Is there any, does it imply that at all in the commentaries?
No, it just like who sells half the tree.
Right. Right. The only thing is, if that's the case, then we may end up with a different answer. This is like, yeah, that's part of our question is who sells half the tree. Okay. The Gemara says, Amalei, like honey, get the same answer. That he doesn't acquire even half the tree. He doesn't acquire even the half that you could have thought that he is selling. The purchaser doesn't acquire that. Eisvei, the Gemara has a question, the same question like we asked before from a brisa, but now the brisa is more specific to this question. It's chutz michatzi charuf pleni, chutz michatzi sadin pleni. If someone sells a field and he says, except for half a sycamore tree, mamish the brisa spells this out, half a grafted carob tree. So the brisa continues. It says, shar charuvim leikana. All the other trees in the field, you don't acquire them. Hey, all the other trees in the field you don't acquire. What about the half that was remaining from this tree that you said you're not selling half? What about that other half? It says, my love, it must mean just the other trees aren't sold. What's left remaining from this half a tree is sold. That contradicts the psak of Rav Sheshes that said that nothing is sold. You know what? Even what's left remaining from that half a tree is also not sold. So then why'd we say that the other trees aren't sold? Rashbam spells it out. He says, this that you said, Shar Charuvim Laikana, I'm calling the other half a tree, Shar Charuvim. Shar, the other carob trees aren't sold. Guess you know what the other carob trees are? It's all the other carob trees plus half the tree that I didn't talk about. All of those aren't sold. Okay, Teda, I'll prove it to you. We give the proof. Let's say someone says, I'm selling you this field. I'm not selling you half of that field. So half of that field is what he didn't sell, but the other half of the field he did sell. He never sold that field. Rather, you don't acquire anything. Okay, so what would it be? Either it's the path or it's shufr d'shtara, or he's just making the document more beautiful by itemizing everything that's not part of it. making it clear. He thought he's making it clear. He's making it more confusing, but he started to make it clear.
Are trees considered something, a davar chashuv, that has to be specified? Is that what's going on here?
Specific trees are. In the Mishnah we had, I think.
So it said, like, if it's a tree, you need a rope to climb up, or if it's a carob tree.
Right.
Certain trees are davar chashuv, and you have to be specific.
Right.
And the problems here are that in trying to be specific, they were creating problems.
Made it more confusing,
Yeah, okay.
Okay, now we have a new question. This really takes us back to a totally different sugya. Boimine Rav Amram Rav Chisda. Rav Amram asked Rav Chisda the following question. Someone deposits something by someone else, by his friend. And when you deposit something, what you mean is that what this means is that the person is a shomer. He's going to watch this. What is it? Maybe it's money, and he's not borrowing. He's just a shomer. He's going to watch it. Now, usually you don't have a document for it, but over here he made a document. He made a document saying that depositing this by you, and you're holding it, and there's a document that says it. Maybe it says the value also, because it was money. Put down the value. Now, what does the document help? That the shomer can't say that, I don't know what you're talking about. You never gave it to me. The guy says, what do you mean? Of course I gave it to you. Here I have a document that says that you were holding it for me. Okay. So he may be a shomer chinam, he may be a shomer sachar. We're not getting into that detail. Paid watchman or unpaid watchman. Now, when the guy comes to collect it, the shomer says, I gave them back to you. So, Mahu, what's the din? The guy has a document, says that I gave it to you. Now, normally, if there's a loan and there's a document, and the lender has the document in his hand, and he comes to the borrower, he says, you owe me money. Look, here's a document. So the borrower cannot get away with saying, I paid you back. So why am I holding the document? You should have taken the document. The document is the proof that you still owe me. You can't get away with saying that. Over here, it's a little different, because mi amrinan, do we say migudi ba yamar nensu meheman hashtenami meheman idilma malay shtachab yadamay bay. He could get out of this. He could say, not that I gave it back to you. He could say that an accident happened and I'm exempt. That would work. An accident would work for paid and unpaid watchmen. He could really say that it got stolen if it was
Depends on the
if it was unpaid. It depends on type of shomer. But we're just to keep it simple. We say it's an accident. That way we can cover any possibility. Out of his control. Something. What does Shalom call it? Beyond. Yeah, something.
Beyond reasonable doubt.
Unreasonable doubt, something like that. Unpreventable circumstances. That's what he says. Unpreventable circumstances. That's how he translates Einus. Unpreventable circumstances. So he should be. So here's the thing. There's one detail that gets thrown into this. Since I could get out of paying, since I could get out of returning this item by saying that it was unpreventable circumstances. So therefore, the document that you're holding is not that significant. So really, you gave me the document. I didn't care to destroy it, to do this. It's not significant anyway. I could get out of it with other claims as well. So once the document loses its value, so the fact that you're holding the document isn't the same proof as the document that I have no way out of. If it would have been a loan, I have no way out of getting it. I paid. What do you mean you paid? Why is the document? But here, I have other excuses to get out of this. So the document loses that value. So the fact that you're holding the document isn't significant anymore. Maybe I dropped it, and you found it or something. It doesn't prove the same thing. So do we say that he has a migu? Since I could have really, he's claiming I returned it. But since I could have said that an inus happened and I would have been believed. Now, there's one detail here that we're not mentioning, that he's only believed with the shvua. He has to take an oath. Whenever there's a bar, you have to take an oath, shvua, that it was an accident, and not a bar. Whenever it's a shamer, he has to take that. So, but whatever the case is, he has a migu. He could have said that it was an accident. So believe him now that he said that he returned it. Or did the person can tell him, hey, what am I doing with the document? It's like a migu b'makamedim. Your claim is contradicting witnesses that are saying that you didn't pay it back. Amar lei, so Rav Chizda responded, mehaman, that he's believed. He has a good migu. He could have said that it was an accident and he's believed. He's not satisfied with that answer. So, but we could tell him, what about the document? Why am I holding on to the document? Amar lei, he says to him, yeah,
if he's holding on to the document, it doesn't seem like saying he returned it.
Yeah, no, the migu is that I could have given a claim. I could have given another claim. I could have said that it was unpreventable circumstances how it got lost, and then there's nothing to do with the document. So Rav Chizda responds to this.
So what does he claim then? That makes him
He's claiming that he returned it, but since he could have claimed that,
if he has it, then
yeah, we don't know if he has it. He's saying he returned it. Yeah, we don't check the property. Significant.
Because of this claim, but it still holds value because it could deter him because now he has to make a note.
Oh, that's what Gemara's going to say in a second. So, but Rav Chizda responds to this. He says, look, if he says nansu, if he would claim that it was unpreventable circumstances, can the other person tell him, so why am I holding the document? You can't say that. So that claim, that why am I holding the document, doesn't have strength over here. Okay, but this is all by a deposit. This would not be by a loan. Amalei, so he says in bed, he tells to him, safe, shvuah. He says, but he has to take an oath if he says nansu. So you lose the migu. He says, achinami, my neman b'shvuah. He says, that's what I meant. I meant that he's going to take an oath. It's not that he would have had to make that claim. He would have to take an oath. Now I want you to believe without an oath. No, I'm telling you that he should believe now with an oath. It's exactly what that claim would have been, nansu, that he would have had to take nansu. The unpreventable circumstances happened to the item. So too now, just like over there, you would take an oath. So too now, you're going to take an oath that you returned it. We're going to somehow put that oath on you. Okay.
And if not for the migu, he would just be out of luck.
Yeah.
No oath, right? He just owes the money or whatever it was.
Right. It would be just like the loan. The
Yeah,
advantage
yeah,
of the deposit is that it gives him a migu.
Yeah. So the migu allows him to have to take an oath. And then once he's taken the oath, he's believed.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Gemara says, "Lema beplukta dahani tanai." This is a very interesting statement because what the Gemara is saying is that Rav Chizda's answer to the question here, where a person is believed with the migu, that he could have said nansu, could have said that it was unpreventable circumstances, that's going to help him for his claim that he returned the deposit, that he returned an item that he was watching. So that's really a machlekes in a brisa. Now, it doesn't mean it's a machlekes tanoim, but the Gemara says, "Lema beplukta dahani tanoi." The Tanya, we have a brisa, and we quote in the brisa Dayani Goyla and Dayani Eretz Yisrael. Dayani Goyla and Dayani Eretz Yisrael are Amiroim. It must mean that the Brisa, that a Mishnah doesn't have any Amiroim in it, but a Brisa does. Yeah, that's what's coming out of it. It's interesting. We have that in Pirkei Avos. Amar Rabbi Shua ben Levi. We have in.
But can't he be either?
Well, Rav is a Tana and Amir. It doesn't say the others. It doesn't say Shmuel. Anyway, the Gemara is discussing like this. The Tanya was taught in a brisa. Shtar kis hayetzi al yisayim. If you remember, shtar kis is what we know of as the heter iska. You want to, one person is going to do business. He's going to put in the effort. He's going to do the work, all the, all of that stuff. One person's going to supply the capital. It's going to give him the money. So how's this person going to make money off that loan? Because he can't pay back any extra than what he's receiving. So the way that it's done in the Gemara, the shtar kis, the way it works is that he gives him half the money as a deposit. And this person is not borrowing the money. He's just managing the money. It's not his money. He can't spend it. It's not like, if he loses that money, so he lost a deposit, he's not a shoyel, he's a shomer. Half the money, the other half of the money he's lending. What's going to happen in the end is when you make profit off this, half the money that was the loan goes to the person that was doing the work, and half the money that was the deposit the gets returned, plus the income that was done on that because he was managing it. Now the Gemara had a concern that this person is doing the work for free. Why is he doing the work for free? Because the guy agreed to lend the money. So the effort that he's putting in managing that money is considered interest for the loan that he's getting. Gemara says, okay, so it's not half. We're going to make it a little bit off from half, so that 39%. That the part that the other guy isn't getting back is a payment for the management of the money. Something, right? We do does it like that.
Well, the thing is, if you lose it,
if you lose it, there's a loss.
There's responsible like a shayl.
He's a loss for half. He's only has to pay half if he loses it. Yeah. The money gets lost. Right?
And the other half is a shomer.
Other half is a shomer. Well, the shomer half he always has to get he's a deposit. No, he's not. There's no gift there. One is a shomer and one is it's not called a shayel, it's called a loiva. One is a borrower. He's borrowing money, and one is a deposit. The deposit, he's just managing that money. And the loan is really his money. He just has a debt. It becomes, let's say I'm the guy that's doing the business, all right?
At least the loan is also secured.
The loan is secured, and the deposit is secured unless it's an accident. The profit off the deposit is not necessarily coming. The deposit, the profit off the loan is definitely not coming because that's a prohibition. Right? There may be no profit. That's
for sure can't make more than 49%.
Yeah.
You're gonna be others.
Yeah, unless you arrange that the payment for managing the thing is another quarter, whatever, you can make it up, however much it's supposed to be. The Gemara said I think could be a quarter. Okay. So what happened was like this. Yeah, I mean they have like different ways of doing it, but this is the basic foundation. This is the basic setup. Okay. Now the case is Shtar Kisayetzi Yisayim 70b. We have a document that's being taken out not on the borrower himself. The borrower himself passed away, and it's being taken out. It's being held. The document is going to collect from the inheritor of the borrower. So What are you allowed to collect from the inheritors? The pikadon you can take, right? Let's see. The Rashbam says, yeah, you can take it. You take an oath and you collect. That's basically it. You take an oath and you collect. Okay. The problem is over here is that there was a slight claim that you can make on the part of this capital that was the deposit. You could have said it was an inus. You have a document. If you remember from this Gemara, Rav Amram asked Rav Chizda that the document on the deposit, you have a way out of that document. You can say that it was an inus. So therefore, you should be neman with the migu that you say that you returned it already. So here, it's half and half. It's 50-50. So the Gemara says like this: Dayani Gaila, the Dayanim of Bavel, which is Shmuel and Karna Amri, they say Nishba v'Gai v'Kulai. Say that he takes an oath and he collects everything. But Dayani Eretz Yisrael Amri Nishba v'Gai v'Mechza. And the Dayanim of Eretz Yisrael, I think it's Rabami and Ravasi, they say that you can only collect half because half of it is a deposit, and on the deposit, the father could have gotten out of this. Now that it's on the Yisayimim, we can make a claim that the father, when it comes to orphans, we because they don't know exactly what happened, so we can, the Bezdin will suggest the claim for them. So the Kuli al Mislu the Nardai. Everyone agrees to the way that this is set up by Nardai. Darmi Nardai. Nardai says Hayeska Palga Melva Palva Pikadan. When it comes to this business type of transaction, half of it is a loan and half of it is a deposit. My lab baka miflagi. Look at exactly, this is the machlekes. One of them holds a Rav Chizda, one of them doesn't. The Mar Savar, the Dayani Gaila, the Shmuel and Karna, the first opinion that we mentioned, he's going to tell him that, why do I have the document if you paid it back? Omar Savar and the Dayani Eretz Yisrael, the Bach adds in the words, he can't tell him, why am I holding the document? And we're just going to explain because of that claim that he can say that it was an accident, it was unpreventable circumstances. So therefore, the psak of Rav Chizda is not 100% unanimous, because the Dayane Eretz Yisrael agree, but the Dayane Gaila don't agree. The Gemara says, like, that's not what's happening. The Kuli al Misl Rav Chizda, everyone holds, and when it comes to a regular deposit, that it would accept what Rav Chizda says. Rav Chizda says that you can claim that it was you have a migu, because you could have claimed that it was an unpreventable circumstance, and the fact that the guy has a document becomes less significant. And so therefore, you can also say that you returned it. Everyone agreed to that. But over here, the machlekes is slightly different because of one nuance here that's messing up that claim. And what is that nuance? The Mar Savar, the Dayane Gaila, they hold im isa de pare, that if the person really paid it back the way he's claiming, not here, it's not the person here, it's the father of the guy it's collected from, right? Because we're dealing with orphans. Then he would have said on his deathbed, he would have told, this is a very significant piece of information on his deathbed, he would have made sure to tell them that I paid it back. The fact that he didn't say that.
He suddenly died before he wrote the will.
Right. Mar Savar, the other opinion holds, how do you know how he died? He died on the spot, but he's saying that because he didn't say when he died. How do you know like the details of that? Yeah, it's interesting that you can have a claim that the first opinion has this claim that no, he would have said, not everyone has a chance to give all the the information of this insurance company and that life insurance thing. Anyway, Shalach Rav Huna bar Ravan. Okay, but anyway, whatever the case is, we didn't end up with with saying that the psak of Rav Chizda that is really an argument, really a machlekes between Dayan and Gaila. We're able to get out of that. Shalach Rav Huna bar Ravan. Hamafkid etzel chaver b'shtar. if someone deposits something for the person to watch and he uses a document, with that it says what its value is or something, and the person responds when the guy's to collect it, he says, I returned it to you. So it says Neman. He's believed. Why was he believed? Like Rav Chizda said. Because he could have said that it was unpreventable circumstance. So now we trust him to say that he returned it.
When does shtar has no validity ever?
In this case, the shtar doesn't have the same value because it's not a loan, it's just a deposit. The only thing that the shtar is going to help where you can't say you never gave it to me, because that would be directly contradicting the shtar. It's also going to require him to take an oath. So, and now this is self-contradictory, but the Gemara is going to ask that in a second. Also, the same thing. So here we say that you're able to say that I returned it with the migu that you could have said that it was unpreventable circumstance. And if there's this document, this arrangement where half deposit, half loan, the person can collect everything. Gemara says, Tarti. How do you say both of those in the same breath? Those are self-contradictory. On the half that's the deposit, you could say that it was unpreventable circumstance. So you can't collect the whole thing, you can only collect half, which is what the first case, you said you can only collect, you can say that it was returned. Gemara says, Shani Hassam. Over there it's different. Dim Isa de Pare, that if he would have given it back, Meimer Havayamar, then the father would have told the Yisayim, we're talking about over here where it's Yisayim. So that first interpretation, remember we said that there was one slight nuance that changed it from what Rav Chizda's psak was. Rav Chizda says that the person can say Nensu, but if it would have been the orphans, the inheritors, we would assume that the father would have told the children that he returned it if he really returned it. And because we don't have that information, so you can only collect, you can collect the whole thing. If it would have been from the person himself, the person could have claimed it. But because it's Yisayim, we would have thought the father would have told him that we're taking that claim serious over here, and he can collect the whole thing.
We're dealing with a shtar the whole time.
Yeah.
And didn't you say before that what came in that if you paid it, the person would have the stock back?
Yeah.
It says it. So
yeah, by a loan, that's 100% claim. By a deposit, it's not 100% claim because you can get out of that by saying that it was unpreventable circumstances. I know you have it, but I lost it. I know you have a document, but I lost the item. So the document loses its significance. Yeah.
I remember they wouldn't go after the kids of the family, so they get back.
Right. Unless it was, yeah. Here it's not a gun. This is the money, but the guy wants to pay it back. It's a regular debt.
But in the case in the past,
over there it was different because there's a mitzvah for a gun to pay back. The mitzvah's on the father. The mitzvah's not on the estate. Yeah. Here they go after orphans because it's a debt on the estate. The estate owes the money. Rava says, Hilchas and Nishva v'goy v'mechza. The halacha is like Rav Chizda, the halacha is like the Dayani Eretz Yisrael, that he can actually only collect half of it, because the other half he has a claim that it was, returned because it was unpreventable, with the migo that it was unpreventable circumstances, like Rav Chizda said. Amar Marzutra says, Hilchas k'Dayani Goyla. The halacha is like the Dayani Goyla, which means you can collect everything. Amalei Ravina Lamarzutra. Ravina says, "Hamar Rava Nishpa v'Gevim Mechza." What are you saying? Allah is Kedayani Goyla. It's exactly the opposite. The Allah is to Kedayani Eretz Yisrael, like Rav Chizda. You collect everything. Amalei Marzutra responds, "Anan Kedayani Goyla Ipcha Masninana." We have, when I said that Allah is like Dayani Goyla, we have it the opposite. We have that it was the Dayani Goyla that said that you collect half. Not the Dayani Eretz Yisrael. So when I said the halacha is Dayani Goyla, because I understood that the Dayani Goyla had it the other way, and therefore the halacha is like Rava, which according to the first that was exactly like Rav Chisda, which goes with Dayane Eretz Yisrael, but according to this version, it goes with the Dayane Geilas. When he said Dayane Geila, he meant you can only collect half. Let's leave it at the Mishnah. Okay. We have a new attendant.